Let me start with our top story on the terror network that the police busted after the Delhi Red Fort blast. In a big breakthrough in the Delhi Red Fort car blast case, a red Ford EcoSport car, in fact an EcoSport car with a registration number DL10CK0458, flagged by the Delhi police and linked to the November 10th Delhi car blast, has finally been found by the Faridabad police on November 12th, that's today. In fact, the vehicle was discovered parked near Kandauli village near Faridabad. This car is very important because it appears to be another car that was owned by Umar Muhammad. This car is said to be registered under Umar Muhammad's name, and that address of this car is linked to a madrassa that's located in Delhi. So very important as part of the investigation. Earlier, a lookout notice was also issued for this very car after investigators found that there is an additional car apart from the I-20, an additional car that could be used for a terror act. 5 police teams were deployed to hunt down this car, and it's finally been found near Faridabad. Now, investigation points how this terror group had big plans in Delhi. They intended to inflict maximum damage. In fact, investigators have revealed that Dr. Muzammil Ganaie, who was recently arrested after the police busted a white-collar terror module, and Dr. Umar Nabi, both had visited the Red Fort area in January itself, and that they found through one of the accused, Dr. Muzammil's phone details. They had already recce'd the Red Fort area in January. This blast that happened on November 10th wasn't really supposed to happen. As per initial assessment by the police, they claim that Umar Muhammad, behind the wheels of the car, actually panicked. He didn't intend to actually set off the car, but he panicked because, first of all, he had explosives in the car. Secondly, his accomplices were all arrested. Investigators believe that because they had already clamped down on multiple of his close aides, this man, Umar Muhammad, was so panicked that he prematurely set off that bomb. So we believe that, as per police investigation, we believe that this man did not have proper timer, he had no proper equipment, it was half-baked. Whatever he wanted to do was half-baked. He did not have the whole deal in his car. He had some parts of it, and out of panic, because he realized that the police were hunting down and there was a large-scale crackdown on the terror network that he belonged to, he panicked and set off that car with those explosives. The probe now only deepens as to how big Omar's network is. As we see, Omar belonged to a network that had roots to the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pakistan. In fact, after Mohammad's arrest, there were 3 more doctors from Faridabad's Al-Falah University who also were arrested today. In fact, let me tell you that Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the victims as well. He's promised that they will bring justice to them. He's met with the victims personally. Those are the images there. The death toll has now risen to 13. Investigation now has been handed over to the National Investigative Agency. But it's very clear here that the investigators at this point has taken a close look into a big, broad network that has multiple people involved, including the Imam and his wife at Al-Falah Mosque, where they found stash of arms and ammunition and basically nearly kgs of explosive material. And that man is said to have really been the man who tried to radicalize multiple people. And also to tell you very clearly that the police found this entire network through a WhatsApp group. First of all, a poster came up in Srinagar that was suspicious. Through that poster, they tried to crack down on some people. And when they cracked them, when they tried to comb their digital evidence or digital proof, they basically found some groups that had enough and more discussion on how Kashmir should be independent, on how people of Kashmir are being treated by India, on how they want to teach those people a lesson. And those groups, basically on Telegram, these groups that chatted extensively about Kashmir and how they want to make Kashmir Azad. This was more or less the conversation we hear that was explicitly spoken in those groups, and through which the police managed to crack down on this large, wide network. It's shocking indeed, but at least it's out there. We don't know if how many are there. Still, there are many people who are out there. We believe that these Umar and his accomplice also went to Turkey. They met with their handlers in Turkey and they came back. So the last 3 years, Turkey, they went in about 2023 or 22, and from then to now, they've been actively ensuring a big wide network, recruiting people across different parts of the country, as per reports from police sources. This is what we hear, that they've recruited multiple people. Shaheen is the one who's from Lucknow, that lady there. Her husband says, I have no clue. Her ex-husband says, we have no clue that she had any links to any terror group. But she did want to move abroad. She didn't want to stay in India. She kept saying those things. And this man right next to her is a man who studied his MBBS and eventually got so radicalized that he had kgs and kgs of explosives that the cops found on him. He's currently alive and under arrest. They are alive and under arrest. Now, we're going to see, as per investigation and as part of it, how far the police will get down to cracking this large, wide terror network. How big is it and how bad is it? We hear that they had plans extensively to carry out multiple IED blasts across various parts of India. That they wanted to plant IEDs across various parts of India simultaneously. So they were preparing for it. And the multiple targets, we are showing that for you as well. They had temples, they had popular places like Connaught Place, all in their map. They wanted to target these populated locations across various urban cities in India. This was the target of this terror group. I'm going to bring in our guests on board, Dr. Vikram Singh, former DGP, Uttar Pradesh, NK Sood, former RAW officer. We also have Major Muhammad Ali Shah, retired defense and strategy expert, and also Dr. Abhinav Pandya, counter-terrorism expert. Thanks all of you for joining us. I'll start with Dr. Abhinav on this right here. Abhinav, if you're with us, do take us through on what you see there, the large terror network. You said to me, don't fall for these elaborate jargons like white-collar terror module. But I'd like you to explain to us, why is this? All right, I apologize. We seem to have lost Abhinav's connection. If I can bring in Vikram Singh. Dr. Vikram Singh, your take on this. As we see the white-collar terror network, where we see doctors working at Al-Falah University, which is a legitimate university. The university has also responded a long statement that the Chancellor has also given, saying that we have nothing to do with this. As our laboratories are not used for any kind of explosive material. We are playing that Al-Falah University's response out for you on our screens as well. So it's a legit university where students pass, where professors are working, where people are doing their daily business honestly, sincerely. And here you have a whole bunch of people, men, and who are working there, who turned out to be so radical that they pulled off a terror attack in the heart of the national capital. And this network seems to be only growing, with the police finding more people deployed in different parts. And they're all communicating through some Telegram groups. And their agenda is Azad Kashmir.
Good evening, Nabila and my gentlemen. Well, this is a terror plot with a difference. There are three new ramifications. Much as somebody would like to say that do not go in for jargon, but this jargon has been coined by the investigating agencies and not by anybody else. That is white-collar terror module. For the first time, you have a group of doctors, MBBS, and those with a postgraduate degree. The one, Dr. Adil, arrested from Saharanpur, happens to have an MD degree, and he's a specialist in internal medicine. Therefore, you have doctors. And then the second point that comes is the epicenter of this terror plot is Pahalgam and then Faridabad Al-Falah University. Whatever the Vice Chancellor may say, she does not absolve herself of the responsibility that a car of Dr. Shaheen with an AK-47. Major Shah, please listen to me very carefully. And I would like to hear from you. Don't you think I'm responsible if a car is parked for weeks together with an AK-47, 84 rounds, Beretta pistols and ammunition? Don't you think I have a moral and a legal responsibility to perform? Then if the four doctors there are studying in Al-Falah, don't you think it is the job of the faculty also to see what has happened in the wiring of their minds and what has transformed them from regular practicing medical doctors? And Dr. Shahina is one person who graduated from the Allahabad Medical College, then passed out from the UP Public Service Commission, and then qualified to become a faculty in the Kanpur Medical College. I mean, that is the level of qualifications you can see. But what transformed them? You're very right, Nabila, that the husband said, I have nothing to do. We have parted company, but that is much more to it than what meets the eye. Going abroad for better or greener pastures is perfectly acceptable. But to hobnob with jihadis and the two Maulvis who are known, Maulvi Irfan and Maulana Ishtiaq, one from Faridabad also and one from Shopian, they seem to have indoctrinated and radicalized all of them. And the possession of ammonium nitrate in such huge amounts, almost 3 tons, this is more than what was used in the Oklahoma blast with devastating impact. The timers, and there is so much new in this that the use of technology, the use of chat apps, the use of Telegram is an old hat. It has been used by terrorists earlier. That is a favorite, the WhatsApp. But the use of rogue apps and also the use of cars and finding a safe haven in a legitimate university, that is a cause of concerns. And I do not agree, much as I would like to, there may be no complicity, but there's carelessness of the worst kind and a casual approach. It is the job of the university administration, the proctorial board, to see what is going behind the eyeballs of the students and the faculty. You cannot allow the grass to grow underneath your feet. And there are other experts who are Mr. Sood, Major Shah. They would tell you and throw light that it is just not possible and you cannot look the other way. When things are not going normal, seasoned commentators on your panel today would say that these changes are perceptible. And if you find these changes, whether in the services or outside, it is a cause of concern and they have to be given a rehabilitation.
If I could also bring in Major Muhammad Ali Shah on this. So tell us a little more. In your expertise, we're looking at a cross-border radicalization that's happening with such ease. They've met, we believe, the man who pulled off this blast also went to Turkey and met with some Jaish handlers in Turkey. And that's where the whole trail of radicalization started, where they involved these men on their groups, on their social platforms, and that's where the chatting happened. And that extensively they've spoken about Azad Kashmir, independence for Kashmir, and how Kashmiris are being treated and whatnot. And that's what led to this, extreme level of radicalization and the level of recruitment. I just want to ask you, how is it possible for a terror network to function if no government and no person in their sane mind is going to be funding that kind of activity? If there is tacit support from the Pakistan government, we don't know. But I want to know from you, in your expertise, where do you think they're getting this kind of money for them to be recruiting people, getting this kind of arms and ammunition, traveling all the way to Turkey and back? It seems like a whole full-fledged business.
Right, Nabila, that's a very, very logical question. Firstly, what Dr. Vikram Singh said, the former DGP UP, he didn't mince any words, and I think he was absolutely right to the point and crux. He got into the crux of that. Firstly, how can you have a car parked, for example, in your compound with explosives or weapons or anything illegal? And then you say it's not your responsibility. It has to be your responsibility. You may not be directly involved in it. I admit that. But then you have lacked somewhere. Your security, your proctorial team has lacked somewhere. So the moral responsibility at the end of the day, it's yours. The head that gets cut ultimately is the main. Be it the military, be it the police, be it in universities, the vice chancellor definitely has to be answerable to what has happened in the compound. Now, I'm not saying they're involved or, but it is, how can you be lax in that? Secondly, I think these doctors have put the entire community of doctors to shame. A noble profession. Doctors and teachers are two professions which we all honor. We all have great respect and regard for. They have put the entire community at shame. It's actually shameful. It's not just shameful, it's whatever punishment you give to them, it will not be enough, Nabila. They have to be interrogated in a thorough manner, and one has to get to the bottom of this. Now, the very fact is what my analysis says. See, we had Op Sindoor. We busted 9 terror outfits of Jaish-e-Mohammed. And we all remember the line which Maulana Masood Azhar said, where he said, I wish God had taken me instead. So it's but natural for anyone to react. I think he could have revenged. It's, he has probably, that's what my take is, that he has probably got his operatives, and that's where unhone isko anjam diya. Now the very fact is, we have to get to the bottom, because Op Sindoor has not stopped. Our government said we have only put a comma, we only paused. And if Pakistan had the audacity to do this, they have to be held to pay. We cannot take it lying down. We had already taken out a policy that any act of terror on our soil would be treated as an act of terror against the entire country. Well, these people have visited Turkey in 2022, 2023, whatever. So the very fact is, we have to know exactly what had happened. And it's not impossible, Nabila. When there's a will, there's a way. And through AI, through technology, a lot can be found out. There's an officer, Major Sankalp Doshi, he has designed an AI module, which is very hi-fi, which is very high, very sophisticated. Such kind of innovation should be put to practice, should be made to use. And it is not impossible. Once again, I'm telling you, not through physical interrogation only, but when we use technology, not just drones or CCTVs, but through AI, we can infer exactly where they had gone, what time, where, who they had met, all that when we put together. Day yesterday, Nabila, I'll just conclude by saying, when the NIA and the NSG was called out, I knew at that very moment that there is something serious. NIA and NSG would not be called for a minor CNG blast or
No, it's established now that this is not a CNG blast. It's well established that this is far beyond that. It's established that this is a terror network. A terror module has been busted as well. So that fact is already out. Yeah.
That's exactly my point. I was saying I had analyzed it when the news broke out 2 days back in the evening. Immediately, instantly, I said, at that time I said, now we all know it's a terrorist activity. But I'm saying at that very moment, I had analyzed it, that the NIA and SG have been called. The very fact that they've been called, it is something extremely serious, Nabila.
Okay. Our former RAW officer also on the panel, N.K. Sood, sir, your take on this, the module's Turkey connection and links with Jaish-e-Mohammed handlers. How significant do you think that this element of information is? Because it's handlers sitting across borders, not just in Pakistan, but also in Turkey and possibly other Gulf countries, who are trying to fob trouble for India. And they're strategically dedicated to hiring, recruiting people within India, radicalizing Muslims within India. Families of those people who've been arrested claim that they have no clue that their loved one has been radicalized, that they have no clue that their person is like this. The sister-in-law, ex-husband, father, they're crying, sobbing, saying we've spent so much money spending on their education. We had no idea that this was what they were doing. They still don't believe that this is true. Some of them feel that they are being framed.
I think they are lying. Most of the people belonging to the family, it cannot be possible that they did not know what is happening. They're trying to escape punishment, And secondly, as Dr. Vikram had said, that the heads of their organizations, where these doctors were working, they are totally responsible. They deliberately look the other side, And as far as you talk about Turkey, Turkey is the other country besides Pakistan who is helping the terrorists all over the world, Turkey's president, Erdogan's elder son, he has connections with ISS. They had been spreading terror all over the world, especially in Syria and other countries. And Turkey has also been supporting terror activities in India. People from this Kerala, they had been going to Turkey, and Turkey had been sending those people to Syria and other places to join ISS. So Turkish the connections with ISS are known to anybody. And besides, Turkey had been funding various NGOs in India for terror activities. And I tell you one thing, that our agencies had identified 3 persons who connected with this bomb blast who are to be punished, who are based in Pakistan. One is Masood Azhar, second is Sadia Azhar, and third is Asim Mudi. Actually, after Operation Sindoor, when India destroyed 9 terror camps in Pakistan, Pakistan government shifted those camps to KPK area, and they made 413 camps, small camps, so that if small camps are there, then Indian agencies will be having difficulty in destroying them, because then in that case we will have to destroy at least score at least 413 missiles from this side. So they had decided this way. And secondly, after Operation Sindoor, the Masood Azhar had announced that he is forming an organization, Jamaatul Mominat, and his sister Sadia Azhar, who suspected and died in Operation Sindoor, she was made head of this organization. Actually, for this operation, the people who are involved, they had been they were sleeper cells in India, and they were activated after Operation Sindoor, and they were asked to carry out this operation. And I tell you one thing, Pakistan is spreading its network beyond Pakistan also. They are trying to establish terror camps in Nepal, and Indian government is already taking action on that. Secondly, 400 ISA people, they are posted in, they were sent to Bangladesh. Few weeks, I think last week, Pakistan's Army's number 2, he had visited Bangladesh, and he had talked to this Bangladesh ex-working president, and he has said that we want to establish an ISA base there in Pakistan High Commission. At least 40 people belonging to ISS were posted there. One is a brigadier, 2 colonels, 2 majors, and some other people, 400 people are active in Pakistan as ISA agents, and they are working on agenda against India. And besides that, Pakistan is trying to establish its base in Bhutan also. Previously, also in Bhutan, Northeast militaries used to be stationed there. The Northeast militaries was also stationed in Bangladesh, but after PM Modi came to power, he put pressure on these governments to remove them. They were removed. But presently, whatever has happened in Pakistan, what has happened in Red Fort, some people say it was a chance. I tell you that this was a total planned operation. When the operation was exposed, they activated Plan B. And under Plan B, Dr. Umar Nabi, he fled from that place. He came into he entered India, he entered Delhi, and he was waiting for more than 3 hours at Sunari Masjid. When in the evening he saw that the rush is there, of course he was nervous, no doubt about it. When he saw the rush time is there, he exploded. If anybody says that it was a chance that he exploded his ammunition, I don't think there was a chance. He deliberately did it at the time when
he deliberately did it, but they say that he was so panicked because the Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana police had carried such a large crackdown.
Yeah.
His accomplices were already arrested, so he had nowhere to go, and with the explosives in his car, there's nowhere to escape. There would be, and carrying out pollution check. There was a video that he showed him, pulling off a pollution check.
Actually, I think he checked pollution in case police catches his car.
Exactly. That was also what I said. If we could have the CCTV also play out on our screens where he's getting his pollution check done, because on that day, imagine if someone stops your car. Imagine if someone stops your car. If your pollution check is not there, 100% Delhi police pushes you to the side, and then we'll check your car, we'll check your bonnet, we'll take details from you. That was the worry. It was clear. Right. No, but my question here is, how big do you think this could have gone?
I think there was a very big plan, They wanted to kill lakhs of people. Lakhs of people would have been killed. That was the thing, And you see, actually Pakistan's national policy is terrorism. And some people say that white collar people are there. Asim Mudi is also a white collar person. White collar, these people are more dangerous than the other people, They had previously been using engineers also for the job, So now they are using doctors. The only difference is that doctors are being used. And I think our government is going to take very strong action against these people, whether it's Pakistan and as far as this Masood Azhar is there, he's already underground. He has gone into hiding. Pakistan ISI has shifted him to a bunker, But we'll find him and destroy him, no doubt about that. Same is the case with his sister. Because when Operation Sindoor was there, at least 12 members of his family were killed, including his 2 sisters' husbands. Some children also there, some women were also there. So Pakistan actually, they will never change. Pakistan's agenda actually is to target India, and their agenda is Ghazwa Hind. Ghazwa Hind through terrorism, Ghazwa Hind through love jihad, Ghazwa Hind through other means,
Let me bring in Dr. Abhinav. Your network is going in and out. We've been struggling with it, but Dr. Abhinav, if you can hear me, your take on this. I briefly spoke to you the other day. You said don't fall for these big jargons of white collar terror module. Why did you say that?
If you look at things on the ground here, I think the whole trend of educated professionals, getting into terror is not something new. In fact, reportedly, this fellow, Dr. Umar, who is the main person coming out in this attack, the agencies were watching his behavior back in the, let's say, 2018, 2020 also. And there was a nexus of doctors which agencies were talking about in muted tones here at the lower level. And besides that, after the abrogation of Article 370, it was a deliberate strategy on Pakistan's part to recruit highly professional and trained youngsters that included professors, doctors, engineers, and there were very strong reasons for that. Reason number one, because before the abrogation of Article 370, the 3-4 years preceding that, Indian agencies neutralized most of the commanders because they got a very strong tech and capabilities. And Pakistan realized that now they had to completely change and revolutionize their communication strategy. After the abrogation of Article 370, the first thing they did was completely dumping the old OGW cadre. Well, the OGWs are overground workers, which basically facilitate the work of terrorist organizations on ground. They bring shelter, they bring food, logistics, transporting weapons, cash, everything. So they just dumped the old OGWs because they were mostly identified. And the JKP had some really bright police officers working on the ground. They knew them, and some of those OGWs were also working with the agencies. So Pakistan completely dumped them. Now they needed a new breed which could not be identified and which was completely anonymous. So they selected people who had no police cases, who had no PSA filed against them, who had no police records, and that included these very sophisticated-looking young intellectuals. And these guys were also, involved in terror business, not in the manner that they used to do it previously. So some handler, let's say, sitting in Turkey or in Pakistan, was in touch with most of these youngsters, and they would give them instructions, and information was shared on completely need-to-know basis. So that was the strategy which they employed. And even the Jamaat-e-Islami changed the strategy. So after the ban on Jamaat-e-Islami in 2019, their operatives stopped, showing the religious Islamic gears and dress patterns and all that. So you could find people wearing a nice suit and tie, joining terror organizations. So this is something totally new. And these young students have been traveling to Turkey. And if you look at what's happening in Kashmir and also in Pakistan, Turkey has come up as a major player in the terror business over the last, let's say, 10, 15 years. A large number of Kashmiri students are working with the TRT World, that's Turkey's official broadcasting channel, Turkish radio and television channel. And that included sons and daughters of the prominent Hurriyat leaders also. Some of the prominent journalists of Kashmir, they fled to Turkey and they were working there. And, I would like to point out here one very famous Kashmiri politician, activist, I'm not getting into details because that may lead to many controversies. After the abrogation of Article 370, he was absconding to Turkey. He was flying to Turkey, but he was detained at the airport. So that was the level of the Turkey's involvement. So I think we could have looked at all these things, and these things have been taking place for last several years, and it's not a matter of surprise for me at all. And one last thing that I want to add, recently also, the young boys from Kashmir, from various districts in South Kashmir, mostly in South Kashmir and North also, they are traveling to Turkey and they are handling ISI's Bangladesh operations also. From Qatar and from Turkey, they go to Middle East first, and then they go to Pakistan. They get the citizenship, they get the Pakistani passport. With that, they travel to Bangladesh, and those things are conducted in a very coordinated manner. I came to know of certain people who were involved in this business, and I suspected that that could lead to something. And this has come to forefront. Right, it's happening right in front of our own eyes. And I believe that some of those young boys who went to Turkey from Jammu and Kashmir, they were involved in this nexus. And they are from South Kashmir, Anantnag, Pulwama, all these places. So certainly they must have been the part of this racket, of this big terror conspiracy which our agencies have unearthed recently.
Well, sir, sir, as we see, we're looking at this network now so large and wide that people from almost different parts of India have been pulled in. Dr. Vikram Singh, your take on this and how far this investigation will be able to get to the bottom of this, how competent are our forces, give us a little hope as we see this incident has killed 13 people. We don't want another terror attack, and thankfully our police so far has done a great job, but give us how competent our forces are, our anti-terror teams are to get to the bottom, the root of this.
Nabila, there may be very many people who criticize our forces and the investigation, but in a little more than 24 hours, our investigating agencies have done a lot of justice, and the amount of evidence they have been able to collect is indeed overwhelming. In the face of what has happened, that yes, white-collar terror modules, vehicle-borne IEDs, and also the emergence of Jamaatul Momina. Therefore, the new dimensions that Jaish-e-Mohammed has infiltrated into India, the emergence of Turkey as a harboring ground of terrorists, the Al-Falah University being a shelter and the epicenter of terrorism. 5 states, we begin from Kashmir, NCR, Haryana, UP, Gujarat, and this is just the beginning. In just about 28 hours or 29 hours, you see it is just the opening. But the investigators have done a good justice to it, and we are equal to the task. Let me tell you that Major Shah would know that we train also the police forces from other countries also in anti-terror operations, and we do what is absolutely the ingredients of outstanding and convincing investigation, credible investigation, and transparent investigation. Therefore, I would say that India is in very safe hands, and yes, we put our best foot forward when it comes to handling terrorism.
All right. Well, that's it. I think on that note, I'll take that as a message of hope and end this right here. The police, of course, are carrying out arrests, and the network is supposed to be so large that every police team across every state have been asked to stay on high alert. Yes, Major Mohammed?
Nabila, before we say good night to everyone, I would like to say that, I totally appreciate what Dr. Vikram Singh had said. And today we both are not in uniform, but yet we are fighting terrorism in our own way. Dr. Vikram Singh, by his analysis, I had written an open letter to Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terrorist outfit, when the Pulwama attacks took place in 2019, 14 February. I wrote an open letter to the terrorists who attacked Pahalgam on 22nd April this year. The letter was trending #1 for a few days on Twitter, Facebook, including LinkedIn and Instagram, all over social media. So let me tell you, this is something extremely serious, and I think everyone must make a huge noise about it. And I think
that's precisely what we're doing here. That's precisely what we're doing here. The reason to why we have back-to-back shows. I mean, this is possibly the worst attack that's happened in the national capital in recent history. So we've not seen something like this. It startled us and it scares us, and it scares us all the more to believe and know that the amount of ammunition these people were holding, the impact of the attack, if they really pulled off what they had planned, would have been so massive. It would have resulted in scores of deaths. This has ended at least at this level. I'm not saying this is small, but this is as big. But imagine how much more bigger this attack could have been, because we believe they wanted to attack 200 locations simultaneously. They wanted to set off IEDs in 200 locations simultaneously. Where are they getting their money? God knows. Dr. Abhinav, would you want to tell us where do you think funding is coming from in your expertise? Can't hear you. Yeah.
funding is never a problem in the terror financing business, right? So in the more recent, I think in 2009, between 2016 and 19, NIA did an excellent job in its crackdown on terror funding. So after that, they changed their strategies and they've again fallen back to their traditional drug channels. And in these recent, in the latest modules of terror networks, including these educated professionals, they're including their academic and professional networks to transfer money. It's coming through charities. It's coming through a lot of NGOs. I mean, just look at this Al-Falah University. And there are many such entities working across the country. In fact, I personally investigated one case of terror funding that was coming from the Al-Eid charity from Qatar. And they were funding a range of hardcore Salafist organizations in Kerala and also in UP. They were funding organizations which had links to PFI, and those entities were sending boys to ISIS. So funding, there can be multiple channels of funding. And one has to be very innovative and imaginative. For example, let's say you have, there's a Rohingya colony. And, if they get their cards and documents right, and even if like one person has, gets some kind of a 5,000 rupees deposited in his account, there'll be a coordinator who will come and collect those 5,000 rupees from at least 100, 200 different people. And legally, you cannot stop that. You can't stop someone from keeping 5,000 rupees in his bank account. So funding is never a challenge. Funding is never a big issue. And actual acts of terror don't require even that much money. It's just, once you have the right ecosystem set up, then you can just procure these explosives and all that. And for that, they manage the money and they execute it. So funding will never be a challenge.
That's the sad part. And if they are willing to kill themselves, then, right?
In fact, if people want to know in more details about funding, I would request them to refer to my book, Terror Financing in Kashmir. It's published by Rutledge, Tiller and Francis. And I have discussed in detail all the financing modules, like raising money from MBBS and engineering seats, raising money from Hajj tours and travels, raising money from handlooms and, all these handicraft shops, raising money from international trade, multiple channels. And these days, they also procure things through online methods. Even in the Pulwama Fidain attack, they sought a large number of goods from online portals.
That's scary. I mean, I would imagine that all this funding is genuinely going for the benefit of the community. But if parts of it is going for terror funding, then we're just hoping they get to the bottom of this.